Rusty, welcome back to Arches of Horror. On this podcast, we watch every horror release from Arrow Video, and this week, our movie is Dead End Drive-In. Now, before we even get started, I just wanted to ask you one question. Is that okay?
Yeah, ask me.
Which car?
Damn it, I had that written down. That was my big moment.
Which car?
That was very deliberate, though, that he delivered that line in such a way.
Tell me more.
Well, that's all I have. But basically, in the commentary, that each character had different inflections of the way they spoke, and that one was over the top. But I don't really know anything more about that.
Are you a dickhead or what?
Rusty, I have an announcement. I have an announcement to make.
Oh, is this the big announcement?
This is the big announcement.
Oh, my God. Should I sit down or stand up?
You should sit down.
Okay.
This is a world exclusive. Only one other person knows this. Kind of big news. My mouse has died.
No.
Thomas.
That makes me sad.
Thomas the mouse is no longer with us.
That actually makes me sad. Did he die of natural causes, or you didn't have an autopsy performed?
I did not have an autopsy. I'm reviewing the security footage. I'm pretty sure it was natural causes because he was looking elderly.
What was their percentage of neglect? Is it up there? Is it high percentage?
My percentage of neglect is negative 1,000 because
Oh,
I gave
really?
him as much love as that mouse could have wanted. Did
you just find them dead?
I just had him out the other day.
No.
Yeah, I just found him dead 2 days ago.
What kind of funeral did you give him?
Well, the funeral's still going. He's lying in state right now. For any visitors that might want to come by.
To my mouse. But I didn't kill it, George. Honest, I found it dead.
Dead End Drive-In. You know, Rusty, I first saw Dead End Drive-In like last year, I think, at your recommendation. And I never saw this movie as a kid. And I realized why I never saw this as a kid. Do you know why?
Because you didn't have like HBO or Showtime?
Well, that's true also. But I remember seeing the VHS a lot, and I would never get it because I hated the cover art. Because
Which was the cover art?
It's like a guy who I don't even know who he is in the movie.
He's not in the film. Yeah, that guy with the makeup?
Yeah. I realized seeing this cover, which has like a guy with like white makeup and like black hair, I've always hated that look. It's always bothered me on some level. That's why I've never been really into The Crow or The Cure.
Wait, you've seen The Cure in concert. What do you say?
Well, but it wasn't like super like I gotta go. Like that was someone else wanted to go. But even in that old wrestling game that we used to play, I would never pick Sting. Something about...
I thought you were going to say Demolition. Demolition was more like...
Oh, yeah. Well, that's a little... I could get into that.
Because they had costumes to go with it. They wore like the executioners. Yeah.
I don't like when it starts to get sexy. That's what my problem is.
Wait, so Sting was too sexy, or what was too sexy?
Well, he was like trying to like have kind of a vibe. Whereas like Demolition is kind of just like wild child.
But they were wild child, but they also wore those like studded like underwear.
Yeah, but that was more of a post-apocalyptic thing.
They also didn't have the physique to pull that off.
Here comes the axe, and here comes the smasher, the demolition, walking disaster, pain and destruction is our middle name.
Dead End Drive-In.
Like, yes.
What did you think of it?
Well, the thing is, it's one of those movies that I did see as not like a kid, but a little older, maybe like a teen or a little older than that. And I never knew what it was called. And then when I started to get into Arrow films, I bought the Blu-ray and I watched it and I put it together.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, love the movie. And after rewatching it again last night, I liked like 90% of it.
Yeah.
And then like 10% of it, I was just like, okay, there's a lot of problems, especially more towards the final act. And I'm sure we'll address the xenophobia.
Well, but it's not like the xenophobia is the movie being racist. It's a commentary on racism.
No, I know, but it just oddly placed, especially because it's in the third act.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's like so rare that a movie introduces like its political subtext, like an hour in, and just so suddenly.
Well, I think a part of it is also I have some shame because I love all the characters like just seeing all like the punk and like hypercolor.
Yeah.
That like for most of it, I wanted to be part of that world. Like I would have volunteered. I would have shown up at the drive-in.
These places are supposed to be dangerous.
Dangerous? Nah, they're just rumors.
Reckon.
But once you find out about the racist angle, it's kind of like, oh.
Yeah.
They're not the enemy. They're prisoners, just like us.
Another thing I really liked about the movie was the soundtrack.
Oh, yeah.
And the interesting thing is that the director said that he didn't really have much of a budget.
Mm-hmm.
And the money he allowed for the soundtrack was $8,000.
Oh, wow.
And basically what he got for $8,000 was the extracts of like the top Aussie bands, which I don't know. I didn't really know any of the bands, but after consuming the film the first time, I did go out and immediately buy the Machinations album. It has the opening song.
Yeah, that was a good song. Don't remember it at all, but it was good.
Also, when they first go into the Easy Diner or whatever it's called, the Easy Eden, and they have that video playing on the screen, and that's by a band called The Expression, which I think is a bigger Aussie band. If we have any Aussie listeners, they could correct me on that. And that song's called Small Brave Land, and that was a good song.
The jury's still out on which way these guys will go, but they're a lot of fun.
The other thing I liked about it, it had that like Mad Max look to it.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
It had like a Mad Max vibe meets like the Kings Road like punks of the mid 70s.
Yeah. Inside also like a teen rebellion movie.
It's basically the rich and old versus the young and poor, which is like a pretty current theme as well.
That is true.
Since you identify as a millennial, I'm sure you can equate to what some of these Aussies are going through.
Exactly. I am a self-identified millennial.
Did you notice that some of the lines seem very dubbed? And I know there was an issue with that, but...
Yeah, they had done New World, the distributor in America, did like an American dubbed version, but luckily it was really bad. But it did seem, yeah.
But even like when there's a scene when the main character, Jimmy, is like goes home and he's eating dinner with his brother and his mom, and like all her lines seem dubbed. So was she not even Australian?
I don't know.
You're never gonna be like Frank. He's big, he's strong, you're small.
But I'll tell you one thing about Jimmy, the main character, who was played by who?
Ned Manning.
I guess the interesting fact about this, which you should just say.
What, that he was actually 36 instead of 24?
Yeah, and playing like a 17-year-old or whatever he's supposed to be.
I mean, I have to say, though, he does look good for his age.
I can be big. I'm building up.
He does, but once you know that he is 36, you're like, oh, that guy's 36.
Yeah, well, I looked up a current picture of him, and he's in his 60s now, and yeah, he looks about that age.
I'm not cranky.
Brian Trenchard-Smith depressed me when he was like, in the commentary, he's like, he kept himself in reasonably good shape, so, you know, he looks okay here. And I was like, he didn't let himself fall apart. I'm like, I'm older than that guy was there.
For 36, he was definitely in good shape. I mean, he wasn't ripped or anything, but...
He had a very Australian face. I don't know how to describe it, but sometimes when I've been in Australia, I'm walking down the street, I see someone coming, I'm just like, look at that Australian face. Looks like Kate Blanchett.
Kneel before your queen.
See, the thing I was going to say is his brother in the movie, what was his name? Fred or Frank?
Frank, I think.
He looked very, very Australian.
Think yourself lucky, mate. I spend my time fighting with cowboys and arguing with cops.
He looked like he could have been in like the Outback in Crocodile Dundee too. Like what was that guy's name? Like Donk or something? Like I got a donk.
Now I'm just thinking of Zog from Hellgate.
I don't talk about that. I don't never talk about that. You come here and laugh at me? You think it's funny?
Do you remember that in Crocodile Dundee too? When the one guy's like,
you should have bought a gun instead of a beer, mate.
Nah, I don't need a gun. I've got a donk.
You've got a what?
Donk.
I've never seen it. I only watch Criterion Collection films.
Was Crocodile Dundee 1 Criterion? Because I know for a fact you've seen that.
Yeah, yes it was.
That's a knife.
Did you know though that the film is based on a short story by the writer Peter Carey called Crabs?
Yes.
Did you know that before the director mentioned that in the commentary track?
I think I saw it in some other supporting materials. I definitely didn't know it before today.
They call me Crabs.
Why would they want to do that?
I thought I had him once. I didn't.
Now, speaking of the commentary, this film was directed by Brian Trenchard-Smith.
Yeah, yes. He's known to make wacky movies, as he says.
Yeah. And now I always thought he was Australian, and I'll always remember where I was when I found out that he was not.
Wait, whoa. He's not Australian because he said he married an American girl.
Well,
and he has an Australian accent.
That's a British accent.
No,
he's British.
I don't know the difference.
His dad is Australian, and he moved to Australia in his 20s, I guess.
Oh, okay.
That was definitely a British accent.
He fooled me.
Yeah, but I'll never forget. So disillusioned to find out Brian Trenchard-Smith is not Australian.
Well, what else do you know about him?
Well, I know that he made the film Turkey Shoot.
Yes, which was referenced in the movie.
Yeah, it's playing.
It was one of the backdrops. Yeah.
Yeah, he made a movie called The Men from Hong Kong.
I know he. Wait. I know he's directed bigger films than what you're naming.
Well, he directed Leprechaun 3. I know that also.
And 4 in Leprechaun 4 in Space, which I think you've seen. You're one of the few.
I have seen it.
Yes, he's also directed BMX Bandits, which is kind of a cult film now with Nicole Kidman.
He also directed 2 great movies on this Arrow Blu-ray, The Stunt Men and Hospitals Don't Burn Down.
Oh, how long was I didn't even touch Hospitals Won't Burn Down. I did watch The Stunt Men based on your recommendation.
But did you like The Stunt Men?
Well, I watched the 10 minutes he told me to watch, and I have no idea what I was watching.
Wasn't it a very weird, so the movie is a documentary about stuntmen that was made for TV. It was an early project from this director. And it just follows a group of stuntmen as they do stunts that he's conceived for this documentary. And then they explain how they did them. But the stuntmen are such world weary guys where they're just yeah, I jumped off the cliff there. I was scared I was going to die.
You scared? Yeah, I'm scared.
And the things that they do, they're constructing a special rig so this guy could jump off a cliff and be okay, but the rig is just cardboard boxes.
He will jump 100 feet onto a carefully prepared rig made up of 500 cardboard boxes and 14 mattresses.
They look like what G.I. Joe had in mind when they were doing sculpts. They all had that rugged look with barrel chests and all smoking cigarettes.
Oh yeah, they're just they did not seem pro at all.
But that's where most of the damage was done, and the whole scalp was opened up and sort of laying down here. And I think they put 120 odd stitches in the head.
Yeah, I mean the one guy that did the stunt, the main guy that started that company, and he did the free fall into the boxes, like you said.
Yeah.
When they pulled him out of the boxes, he was smoking a cigarette. Was he smoking the whole way down, or did he light a cigarette as he was in there?
No, they gave it to him when he landed, but when he landed, he's looking around dazed, and it was very disturbing. And the funny thing is, when they're setting up all the boxes, which are really just cereal boxes, not cereal boxes that you use in the home
with a mattress on top.
Yeah, and when they're getting it ready, the narrator, who is the least Australian guy ever, he's
yeah,
we've got to make sure these boxes get wet, it's gonna be bad. And they're shooting this next to a cliff where there's just water smashing everywhere.
And they said there was an updraft. It was so windy out. It was like Evel Knievel planning a stunt. It was just here's some boxes, just jump into it from 100 feet
and
up.
It was very disturbing that no one was wearing shirts. And they're just weird kind of atmospheric music, ambient noise going. Did you get to the line in The Stuntmen when one of the guys says, "Drowning is a bad way to die. Don't let anyone tell you it's a good way to die." I was like, whoever would tell you it's a good way to die? Who's ever been talking about drowning being good?
It's a really nasty feeling. Drowning is not a good way to die. Don't let anyone tell you it is. It's really nasty.
I did hear that it's one of the worst ways to die.
Yeah, I would imagine.
I mean, from people that like tried different ways to commit suicide and survived, I think drowning is up there as one of the more horrific ways.
One of the best, like I would never have thought this, but one of the best ways to die, they say, is to get beaten by a gorilla.
This boy's a great showman too, folks. He's up on the goalpost giving a gorilla yell.
It almost gave me anxiety, but not because of like the stunts. It was just, I don't know, the look of it.
Yeah, it's a very haunting, weird thing. I'd recommend checking it out. The Stunt Men, also known as Daredevils.
Yeah.
But Rusty, give us a brief overview of the plot.
Oh, come on. You know that's not my job. You know.
All right. I'll do it.
Well, you know, it's a dystopian future.
Yeah, it's a dystopian future, and this guy Jimmy, he goes to the drive-in one night, and then the next day he can't leave.
He takes his hot Sheila there.
Dirty old man.
And you come to realize that this drive-in is like a concentration camp for like the youth. But then it takes an interesting twist where immigrants are brought to the concentration camp, and then like everyone objects, and they're kind of like, "Oh, we had it good before," and it's kind of like Trump's America, you know.
I think they should have revolted and went after the elite.
Yeah, well, that's what
taking down their gated communities.
Brian Trenchard-Smith said that he wanted to do a sequel that had that element, and I do wonder if the movie would have been more satisfying if it eventually reached that point, if that was kind of like where the movie ended up, instead of it being kind of our hero is the only one who's really against these people and kind of escapes on his own.
Yeah, I mean, our hero it does escape at the end, but what happens to everybody else? Is there like a race riot, or do they revolt? We don't really get any kind of view into that.
I would say that things got worse for everyone there. But I think it was like a good, I don't know. I really like that development in retrospect. Like when I look back on the movie and I'm like, oh, like it's much cooler in my mind than it actually was to watch.
What was much cooler? The look of the film or
the movie? No, the movie overall. Just because like, I feel like the movie starts out and it's pretty interesting. Then he ends up in the drive-in. And I do like how that unfolded, like the kind of like nightmare way in which the guy who's running the drive-in is like, oh, and here's like the stamps you'll get and you could use for food. And they're like, we're not staying here. And the way that unfolded was kind of creepy and cool. But then the middle kind of like was flat, I felt. Like more could have happened in the middle.
Hey, just anyone tell me wheels? Piss off yourself.
There was things I liked about it though. I have to say, and I'm probably in a minority here, that I did prefer like the boring over like the action scenes.
Oh yeah.
Like I could have done without the last scene, and I could have done without that fight scene that was thrown in.
Yeah. I mean, the last scene is kind of all about just showcasing that car jump, which was not even that great as far as stunts go.
No, but he did yell beauty as he landed that.
Beauty! And the police truck did bounce in a very satisfying way.
Yeah, but you knew it wasn't driving off with that landing.
Oh yeah.
That car would have exploded.
No, that would not have exploded.
No, I meant like the tires would have definitely
yeah.
or the axles would have definitely.
Yeah.
I don't know what the term is.
Definitely would not have been a usable car.
You know, before we really jump in though, I just want to mention, since we talked about Hellgate, one of the tropes in Hellgate that baffled you, there was also the trope of license plates in this film as well.
Say what?
Did you not notice all the license plates?
I did not notice. No.
One of the drivers in the beginning scene when they're driving down like the highway had the license plate called Hitman or Hit 'em.
Okay.
There was another one on one of the Carboys cars that said Splat.
Okay.
And on the 56 Chevy that Jimmy steals from his brother to go to the drive-in, it says Frank 1.
I guess I have nothing to say about that.
Stick your rules up your ass.
Did you notice that one of the shots when they show the the 56 Chevy when it's in the garage. It kind of looks like the same shot of Christine. And I wondered, was Christine a 56 Chevy?
Which car?
Oh no, Christine is a what is Chris? It's a 1958 Plymouth Fury. Oh, I googled it. I didn't even get it to the right spot. Yeah, Christine is a 19. Yeah, Christine is a 1958 Plymouth Fury.
I love that you tried to sound like you knew what you were talking about. One of the subtexts of this film was also about car culture in Australia, which was a big thing.
Mm-hmm.
Which that went over my head because I don't really know much about cars. I know you're a car guy.
Yeah, you know me. I'm always at the fucking drag races, man.
Just taking a look at that wreckage, you'd have to admit it's a miracle that everybody wasn't killed.
Yeah, that's right, Roger.
It's a mass of twisted steel. Any idea how it happened?
Booze, I'd reckon.
You know, in the beginning scene when they're saying how like the demise of like the global market with like the stock market crashing in New York and then all the other things that happened. How come the thing that occurred in Sydney, which I had a reference, Sydney, seemed like such a minor incident that it would affect nothing?
Well, but it was also the first one they listed, so they were building up to worse incidents.
But it was just like a bicentennial celebration that led to riots where 51 people died. There's been riots. There's probably riots going on somewhere now.
I don't know, 51 deaths, though? That's kind of a lot.
Death is only the beginning.
Well, the LA riots were 63 dead. So you figure it's basically like LA riot level. That's a pretty big riot.
What about the thing in like Hillsborough? Wasn't there more than 51 or am I exaggerating that?
What's Hillsborough?
The Hillsborough disaster was at a football stadium when they when it overcrowded and people got like crushed to death.
Yeah, I know that one well.
And I don't know how many 96 fatalities. So that was much more devastating.
Yeah, but that's not a riot like in the way that
well, everybody stormed the field, but it was still a disaster.
Yeah.
All right, so your LA riots was a better example. Can we talk a little bit about Jimmy though? His character, like they made one of the things is that they showed several times him trying to stay fit and that he was exercising. Is that also part of the reason why he didn't fit into the drive-in culture? Because a lot of it was they were fed alcohol and junk food and
taste of smack, some speed.
Not for me.
Against drugs, are you?
So was that part of the setting up that he was into fitness and that he was kind of a rogue character?
Well, also when Jimmy is heading into the drive-in, he gets the unemployed ticket.
Too unemployed, thanks.
Now, Frank, owning that pickup truck where he had his thriving business, he would not have gotten the unemployed ticket. And in the commentary, Brian Trenchard-Smith says that the unemployed ones were the ones that they kept prisoner.
Yeah, that made a lot of sense because when in the morning after they're stuck there the whole night and when he wakes up in the morning, you see a lot of cars are missing.
Mm-hmm.
But is that why they stole the wheels off his car? Because he took the unemployed ticket?
Yeah, I think so.
So this way he couldn't leave like the other people?
Yeah.
So all the cars that were there were kind of broken down?
Yeah.
Does that mean when those cars show up and they take the unemployed ticket that their cars are vandalized so they can't leave?
Well, I think those are just the cars that have been there for a while and are kind of breaking down too, you know?
No one can get out!
I feel like the character of Thompson, the one that like ran the kiosk that gave people the meal tickets and also got paid by the government, he seemed like a character that could have been easily like beaten up.
Wait, but I think that Tomo or Thompson was supposed to be Thompson, but they called him Tomo as like a nickname. I think he was supposed to be kind of weak. Like I think he was kind of like the Eichmann sort of bureaucrat character. Like because the other people he interacts with, like the police and stuff, like no one respects him. He kind of, I think, had the subtext that he was once someone like Jimmy at this drive-in who now has like bought into the system and, you know, but doesn't have any real power.
That's the government, and the government sends the cops. I just manage the bloody place.
What did you think of Carmen, played by Natalie McCurry?
Who's Carmen? What film is this?
God, Jimmy, can't you see? This is all we've got.
That was Jimmy's girlfriend. They had no chemistry together.
They did have no chemistry together.
I think that was partially deliberate because obviously once Jimmy was stuck there, he didn't care about anything that was going on there. He just wanted to leave, and she
Yeah.
completely embraced that culture very quickly.
Yeah, I thought I don't know. I'm torn because like I didn't really like her and I didn't really like her character, but you're not supposed to like her ultimately. I did find her turn pretty believable. Like they did a good job of, you know, if it was someone super likable who had great chemistry with him, when she suddenly is like a racist, you would have been like, wait, that's weird. But you're kind of like, oh yeah, she seemed like she was a dick.
Well, I mean, she's young, she's naive, she's a runaway, so
Yeah.
you could totally see her character changing in that way. I mean, even from the very beginning, after they like have sex, she's like watching the movie already and eating the junk food.
Well, what's wrong with that?
Well, he wasn't into any of that. He was more about getting his car back so they could leave.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. Yeah, she very quickly gets into the culture. Like when she's using like the food stamp system, like she was very into it. She was getting those milkshakes.
I'll have a strawberry sundae, a strawberry thick shake, and a Coke.
For breakfast?
Some of the characters there, though, or some of the ways they portrayed the lifestyle there, it was very bizarre. Like if you looked at the background, in one scene they had people windsailing.
Mm-hmm.
Like how did they get that? How did they smuggle that into the camp?
Wait, where was that?
I think when Jimmy and Thompson are talking inside like the projection room.
Oh yeah. I think that was just because where they shot, like you could see like suburban houses and like the water and stuff in the background.
No. They were windsailing on like skateboards. Like they had the windsails.
Oh, interesting.
Inside the camp. And then there's also like people playing cricket.
Yeah.
I mean, basically it looked like Burning Man. It just looked like a fun weekend where you get dirty and sunburned.
Them playing cricket in that situation was very creepy.
Why?
Just because it seems so post-apocalyptic. It just seemed like a crazy game. The guy like pitching with like winding up his arm like that. I'm just like, these people have become savages.
What makes you so fucking special anyhow? Stupid clown.
The one thing I want to say though before moving forward about that scene though inside like where inside the projection room where you said you could see like suburbia behind them.
Mm-hmm.
That was the director said that was the one mistake he made in the film.
Oh yeah, when I was watching the whole scene, I was just staring at the houses. I was like, I can't believe those houses are so visible. It really hurts the effect.
I like the idea of it being very remote and that there was only the one road in.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what's funny though? Most of the actors in the film, even like the extras, they all had like better careers outside of film.
Really?
Yeah, like Ned Manning, the main character, like. Even it was sad that when the director said that, like he wasn't much of a leading man. He wasn't gorgeous.
I had like I was like crossing through the room and I had the commentary on, and he's like he should have had a better career. He's like didn't have much of a career, and I was like, I can't believe you just said that. What if he hears it?
Although he's been quite successful as a playwright and a writer.
Yeah,
he's written some books. I watched an interview with him on YouTube. It was really boring because he was just really talking about his work in writing. But he auditioned for the role in Equus and got turned down. This was in the 70s, I think. And it really affected him. And it propelled him to write the play Us or Them, which was mildly successful. Or maybe it was very successful in Australia.
He had one huge one, Hamilton.
How does a bastard, orphan, son of a whore and a Scotsman, dropped in the middle of a forgotten spot in the Caribbean by providence, impoverished and squalor, grow up to be a hero and a scholar?
I mean, one of the issues I did have about this film, though, is that it seemed like Jimmy was very unaware of what world he was living in.
That is a good point.
Because he's running, he's wearing nice sneakers. It's definitely not his first night out.
Well, that opening scene is funny because he's running and then some car boys start harassing him, and they've
like, hey, fuck off.
they've cut him off, and he's like trying to run around them. I'm like, just run the other way.
I like that the guy says, like when he calls him the fuck arse.
Hey, fuck arse. Want to sell your shoes?
He's just like, you want to sell your shoes? Like he gave him the option.
Yeah, that was good.
Did you know, which is interesting, that guy that says that, one of the car boys, he was also the angle grinder guy. He appeared a couple times. I think he was a stuntman named Guy Norris. He's the stuntman, and he was also in another scene. And the thing that you would find interesting is that he's had a lucrative career after the film.
Oh yeah, he
as
was
a like a director of video games.
Really?
Yeah, God of War.
But he was also like a stuntman. Wait, that's the guy who directed. Must be the original God of War.
I'm making that up.
Wow. Wait, but did he direct video games?
Yeah, he is a director of video game, but I don't know which ones. I didn't.
I think
you want me to look that up
he
right
was
now?
also a stunt guy in like Road Warrior and stuff, right?
Yes, he was. Yeah, he was also Lord Humongous.
I think I remember him from. I think I remember him from that set.
Wait, where were you on set?
I don't know. I don't remember the movie well enough to make a joke.
Just walk away, and there will be an end to the horror.
Did you like that gang, Dave's gang?
No, definitely not.
They had good careers too.
Really? Tell me more about them.
The main guy, not the main guy, the tall guy, the cricket pitcher, the one that said
which car?
Yeah,
Haza, I think was his name.
Haza.
He's a Saturday night music host.
A Saturday night music host.
Not the business to be in if you're going to be humble about it.
In Australia, very, very successful. I don't know when you were in Australia if you ever turned on the telly and saw that.
I never did.
Well, you maybe didn't recognize him. I think his name's Wilbur Wilde.
But what am I, chopped liver, eh?
But the other guy from Dave's gang, the main guy with the like the pompadour hair.
Yeah,
he's a successful DJ.
Really? He must be 70.
He was probably younger than whatever the guy's name is. What's the?
Oh yeah, that's true. That's true.
And the weird one, the guy that didn't really speak or stuttered with the headphones around, I think he was went on to be a successful actor in more dramatic roles.
That was Anthony Hopkins.
I do wish we could chat longer, but I'm having an old friend for dinner. Bye.
Do you remember when Jimmy gave, which he referred to his girlfriend Carmen, but I don't know if they were actually dating or just went on a date. He gave her like a gift.
Mm-hmm.
And the gift box was a cigarette lighter.
And she was so excited.
Yeah.
Well, I think that was because in this world, maybe resources are hard to come by. So that's why she was so excited.
It was okay, I suppose.
What did you think of the sex scene?
Give us a kiss, Jimmy?
I can't say that I found it erotic.
No, but it wasn't supposed to be. But like as the director said, like it was the obligatory sex scene.
Yeah, he said they basically had to have nudity in that. And he did shoot the sex scene through the rain of the car. But I thought it was a little weird just because she's like straddling him and like sitting up. I was just like, man, the roof is really that high.
Well, they didn't modify the car in any way. They took very good care of that car.
Mm.
But the weird thing is when she took her top off, though, she had like pasties on or something.
Yeah, I think that was. But I think that was supposed to be like maybe that's why they did it was a functional thing. But I thought that was supposed to be kind of like the punk future fashion.
Do you like them?
But she didn't embrace that yet because once she met the other girls in the bathroom, she came back with a whole new persona where she became one of the car girls.
Mm.
Like she had her hair done. Like even the director said, like they used like car parts in her hair to really embrace that culture.
Jimmy was not into that look.
No, well, he was a dick. He was kind of a dick, even though he was like the hero of the film.
Yeah, that's
like,
true.
I didn't love his character.
Yeah.
What picture are we seeing?
That's not what you came for, is it?
Did you like any characters?
I thought Thompson was kind of an interesting character.
I did like Thompson. That's where I would have been. I would have been with him.
Just following orders. I would have been with the rebellion. You don't see them until future films.
Wait, you would have been with the rebellion?
Yeah, one of the leaders.
Of what? So you would have been one of like the punk characters?
No, they were like the Nazis. They were.
So which one was a part of the rebellion?
The rebellion's not in that camp. They're plotting elsewhere. I'm saying I'm in the cinematic universe, but there hasn't been a film made about us yet.
You are part of the Rebel Alliance and a traitor.
I'm fighting that state relentlessly. But I also want to go to the drive-in. That's the problem. That's my dilemma.
It's why you fail.
You know what shot I really liked?
No, what shot do you really like?
Which I felt like that was the director's big moment. that crane shot the next morning when he like Jimmy wakes up in the car and like puts the top down and he stands up, and the shot starts like inside the Chevy, and then like it kind of pans out to show like the entire like drive-in to see that there's cars still there and there's people in the same predicament as him.
Oh yeah, that was cool.
And what about the electrified fence? What about that, eh?
You know what shot I thought was going to be? This is going to be the most specific thing about Dead End Driving ever said. But one shot that could have been great that doesn't happen is, do you remember in the scene when Jimmy is siphoning gasoline from the car that's leaving?
The cop car?
Yeah, he accidentally drops a little bit and then it creates a flame.
Yeah.
And Thompson walks over to the flame, and the way the shot is, it's kind of like a wide angle and it's like low, and it's like the fire's on the floor, on the ground, and Thompson is standing over it, and the drive-in sign behind him looks really cool. And then he starts to squat down, and I was like, oh, this shot's going to be sick when he squats down. But then when he squats down, they cut to like a close-up. They should have cut back to the wide one last time as Thompson was looking at that fire on the ground, and it would have been a great shot.
I did recall that shot. I did like that. And I like that it was like the way it was looking up at Thompson as if he was still somewhat of an authority.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was a cool... Yeah, at times the movie looks cool, and then at times it's kind of just boring.
I really like the scene, though, when they the next morning where they go to the Easy Eat Diner.
Oh, yeah, that was cool.
And I like the way they walk into it and it pans through like the characters, and you got the two guys breakdancing, and you got the song playing. Kind of like, you know, referencing youth culture.
Yeah.
And then it goes to the person serving them the food who is part of the old establishment.
Oh yeah, that was a great moment. And being trapped in a movie theater and having to eat food that all tastes kind of similar reminded me of being at Fantastic Fest.
I thought you were on working at Adventureland.
Oh no, but
are you going to say something negative about Fantastic Fest, or what are you going?
Well, it's weird because I love Fantastic Fest, but I didn't go this previous year because of all the controversy, and I don't know if I'm going to go back, but sometimes it does have a kind of a crazy making feeling where you're seeing all these movies and you're eating all the food at the Alamo Drafthouse, and that's like the only food you're eating. And after a while, it doesn't matter what you eat. You could be eating a cookie milkshake or you could be eating a pizza, and somehow it all has the same taste. You just taste the kitchen taste. It's like, I can't describe it, but it's a very specific taste it has.
It sounds like you're describing like bowling alley food where it's just all cooked in like the same like grill area.
Man, I remember getting those egg creams at that bowling alley when I was a kid.
I've never had an egg cream. Am I missing something?
Not really. I recently got one at the bagel place near me in Grand Central Market. And I was like, oh, maybe this will be my thing. I'll get an egg cream in the morning. They'd be like, oh, you must be from New York or something. And I was like, I don't really like this. It tastes kind of like, why did someone put seltzer in this chocolate milk? Ugh.
You know what? Jen and I went to like a burger place.
Mm-hmm.
And you could tell when you walked in that the business was suffering, that, you know, they were excited that we walked in. To try to get us to come back, they gave us free like root beer floats. And that's something I'm totally not into.
Me either. I've always been like, am I doing this wrong? It's just not really adding up. It's not like the tastes like combine that well.
I know, I felt bad though because I had to eat some of it while he was looking at me, but
you should just dumped it out on your lap. That's what I do.
I thought you were going to say dump it on Jen, like in a movie, like pretend to have an argument and then throw it on her.
Do you remember in the movie Can't Buy Me Love when the guy who's like the evil boyfriend, the girl who is the lead, she like gets him a milkshake?
Yeah, she died.
Oh yeah, I always forget if she's the one who died, or I guess because she's also in Say Anything, right? That's the same actress.
No, isn't Ione Skye in Say Anything?
No, I mean she's got a supporting role in Say Anything. She talks about getting into Cornell.
Oh yeah.
She's like, if not for Diane Court, wow, I don't even think I would get into Cornell. Yeah, she did. Yeah, I remember reading that.
She was like a drug addict, right?
Wow, that's completely inaccurate, and I hope her family is not listening.
Wait, what did she die from?
She had like brain cancer or something.
No, absolutely not. You're totally incorrect.
I guarantee you I am correct.
No. Don't make me look this up.
Look it up right now.
Don't make me look this up.
Look it up right now.
are you talking about? Are you high?
I want to rent you.
You want to rent me?
Yeah. You pretend you like me, and we go out for just a few weeks, and that will make me popular.
She had issues with drugs.
Okay.
She was believed to be drug-free. Died of an accidental drug overdose.
Yeah.
But it was prescription drugs. It seems like it's prescription drugs.
And opiates and marijuana and morphine. All right. Well,
you look pretty full. What do you have to say? How do you salvage this?
I don't know. I feel bad for Amanda Peterson.
I don't even know how we got onto this topic of Amanda Peterson.
Oh, in Can't Buy Me Love, she gives like the boyfriend a shake, and he's like, "I said extra thick," and he like, remember that? I was always like, how do you even like quantify that? So like, what is extra thick versus thick?
You could say hello to your friends when you gave me a chocolate milkshake extra thick.
What?
Read my lips. Chocolate milkshake extra thick.
I remember never liking. I always. This is something that I can't imagine. But remember how the whole inciting incident of that movie is that she gets wine spilled on her mom's top?
Sorry, hon.
Oh my God.
Don't worry, it's only wine. Just rub some salt on it, it'll come out.
Like the leather thing with tassels. Always hated that. Always hated that outfit. Even as a kid, I was like, ugh, I hate that outfit.
Why is that? Like the tassels or the...
Yeah, just the style, like white leather. It's like, that's so gross.
Oh, yeah.
Aren't you in the wrong section? Losers are to the left.
Then I guess she'll be making a right. That's the assholes section.
You know what style I've grown to like more?
No, which style?
Late 80s clothing, which I always hated at the time.
Yeah.
But like 87, 88, I'm into it again.
I only like one style.
What's that?
I only like one style. Viet Cong. I wish we could just
pajamas.
Let us all just wear black pajamas. I'd be so into that.
You were just talking about leading a rebellion.
Yeah, a rebellion of like-minded individuals.
So pajamas for everyone?
Yeah. Pajamas are underrated. I find a lot of people my age look at me like I'm a maniac for having pajamas.
I find it troubling that as an adult male, you're wearing kids' pajamas.
Well, yeah, I don't know what to say about that because other people agree with you.
This is a pajama party?
For the record, these are Hannah Anderson striped pajamas. They do make them for adults.
You look like 1970s like Christmas morning photo for like a 7-year-old.
That's great.
It's like you got your new trike. Like there you go.
That's where I want to be. Give me that Battlestar Galactica TV series figure. Give me that Clash of the Titans Kraken.
Oh my God.
Keeping that in the box. And I'm selling it in 2018.
Imagine right now looking at the box you didn't open of the Kraken.
I surely would have sold that though. That's a problem.
Release the Kraken.
Does your pajamas that you wear, is it a onesie or is there two pieces to it?
There are two pieces. And just for anyone out there who might want to get these pajamas, they come in long johns and short johns. So any climate, you're good.
Can you buy ones with the poop flap so you don't have to pull them down at all?
No, but they're so comfortable that it's very convenient to pull them down. And I'll tell you that I've gotten a lot of people into these.
Tell everybody that the time is right. Just after 8, we'll congregate. Pajama party tonight.
Is there anything else you want to say about the film?
I would say I liked Dead End Drive-In, and I
love it.
I'll tell you a little story. Oh,
I was
it's actually a story. My voice is really fucked up, so I'm keeping these stories incredibly short. But this is not even a story. But the last 2 years, I went to MIF, the film festival in Melbourne, Australia. And one of the venues is the Australian Centre for the Moving Image. And they've got like a free museum in like the bottom floor. And so whenever I had some time to kill, I'd be like, I guess I'll just hang out in that museum again. I've sent you photos from it. It's like, they just got like random like old video games too. Whenever I would look at like the stuff from Australian film, I was always like, I feel a real affection for, because I feel like when I was a kid, the only like foreign cinema I really knew was like Australian, you know? Because like when you're a kid, you get into like Road Warrior and stuff like that. It's not like you're watching subtitles.
What about South African cinema like Hellgate?
What about, isn't The Gods Must Be Crazy South African?
Oh, that's a good one. I used to actually love that movie as a kid.
Yeah, me too.
As we all know, when something falls from the sky, it can only have come from the gods.
But anyway, I don't know. So I've always liked Australia.
You mentioned Road Warrior, but I did enjoy Crocodile Dundee as a kid.
Dude.
I know you claim to never seen it.
No, I've seen it. Crocodile Dundee was like the biggest movie for that year when like that. There's a period of like a few months in school where that was just like life was about Crocodile Dundee.
What about Young Einstein?
I never saw that.
Remember like all the exported like Australian culture that we got in like the late 80s?
Oh yeah. I'll tell you one thing to the people of Australia. I've been to Australia 4 times and I've almost never left a 5-block radius. So no one has been to Australia as much as I have and has been less places than I have. I was there over the summer with my one Australian friend and I was like, oh, we got to go up this street. And she's like, how do you know the streets of Melbourne so well? And I was like, this is all I know.
Have you ever met any banana benders?
I don't know what the fuck that is.
That is somebody from Queensland.
Oh.
I love Australian slang. I don't know enough of it though.
Yeah, I don't know any of it.
Didn't you have a funny Australian story? I know this is putting you on the spot because I'm sure you have multiple, but there was something you told me and you did it in an Australian accent. I don't know if it would even translate to.
Well, we already have the story about me going to the barber who was like, "Go to bed, feet up there."
That's what it is. That's what it is.
I knew you love any story about me balding.
I'm so easy to please, but it's been a while. Do you have any updates on your hair situation?
It was looking good, and now I feel like it's looking bad again. I just today took a photo. I was showing this stupid cast thing that the doctor gave me, which is completely not solving my issue. And
what's your issue? Some people don't speculate.
I got some weird shoulder thing that I can't figure out what it is. But the guy was like, it's carpal tunnel, so you have to wear this cast all the time. I'm like, it's definitely not a carpal tunnel, though. But in the photo, I took it upstairs, and I've got like a skylight upstairs. And so sunlight, we know, is quite a harsh mistress for the balding man. And
oh my God,
like in the photo, I was like, oh, you kind of think that my hair is a little blondish, like you're seeing like, except that scalp. So I was like, I wonder.
I wonder if there's people that listen to the podcast that say like, oh, I hope this is an episode they don't talk about balding. And like, oh, here you go. Here's your segment on balding.
Well, what can I say?
Do you ever feel like you're using the bad lighting excuse too much? That maybe it's just every kind of lighting.
Yes. I just started thinking that because I was just like staying at my friend's house when we were working in Texas, and I was like, Jesus Christ, could this lighting be any more harsh? Like, why doesn't she get some like less harsh lighting? And then I was like, well, it's not. I've stayed here like 10 times now, and it's never been this bad. I don't think she increased the light's intensity. It's also funny too how you always find a way to like explain how each light bulb is like. I'm like, oh, of course the light bulb's right in front of me. It's gonna look awful. I'm like, oh, of course the light bulb's right above me. It's gonna look awful. I'm like, oh, of course, light bulb's behind me. Can't have that. I look like Telly Savalas.
Loves you, baby.
How often do you condition your hair?
I probably do it almost every day. I don't know.
Condition? I shampoo. I make the mistake of shampooing every day.
I heard that's a myth that it's bad. I heard it's only a myth if it's like you're using shitty products. If you're using good stuff, it's fine.
Well, I use Pantene Pro V. Is that a good product?
I don't know.
I use organic stuff that's very expensive.
Yeah, my stuff is.
And I feel like it does nothing.
Liquefied cashmere. It's really expensive.
with gold pieces of gold.
Yeah, it's a Goldschlager cashmere conditioner.
You're gonna have to kill me if you want your stinking piece of gold. So be it.
You know what I did? I over conditioned today, and after I showered, because I took the dogs for a walk and got sweaty, and afterwards, like I didn't do anything. I didn't style or put product in it or anything. And I looked at my hair before in the light in my like harsh bathroom. And do you remember the scene in Born on the 4th of July after Tom Cruise is like paralyzed and his hair starts to go through that stage where it looks like peach fuzz on his head, and he's just balding rapidly. And I was just like, oh my God, I look like the Tom Cruise character.
All I'm saying is I want to be treated like a human being. I fought for my country. I am a Vietnam veteran. I fought for my country!
Having 3 bathrooms is so weird because the lighting, the lighting and like the paint really makes me look different in each bathroom. So I look at one bathroom, I'd be like, what the fuck? I look like a monster. And then I go into the next bathroom and I'm like, I'm looking good, dude. And then like the other bathroom, I'm like, I'm just average. And then I go back to the first one and I'm like, I look like I'm in a Sidney Lumet film from the 70s. I'm like an ugly New York man in the background. I'm like, hey. Then I go in the next one again. I'm like, I'm the prince of the city.
You've got to say, I'm a human being. God damn it. My life has value.
Oh, why am I eating? I'm starting to eat food. I'm not even paying attention. I thought we were just having like an Xbox conversation.
I know. I'm like, did we say enough about the film? This episode's going to be 20 minutes long.
He escapes at the end. Then he gets out.
Officer, get him! Get him!
I would definitely recommend overall, I would say definitely if you've not seen Dead End Drive-In, this is a movie worth seeing.
Yeah, and I really like that the Arrow film really captures the look of the film with the cover art, the neon colors.
It's great cover art, and I'm not one of those people who is like, oh, the transfer is really good, because I don't think I'm like an expert on that, except for when it's obvious. But it does really seem like a nice transfer. Yeah. I'll say that. Oh,
if you open the case and you look at the booklet, there's that cover that frightened you as a kid.
I'll be burning it.
Is that also part of your Catholic shame that you couldn't be attracted to like?
I don't know, because I as a child had a persistent fantasy about a witch tying me up and slapping my penis around.
I thought that was the V girl. It was a witch.
Well, I think I originally got it from a show called Wizards and Warriors, or Swords and Sorcerers, or do you remember that show? It was like 1982 or 83. It was like 6 episodes.
Was it a cartoon character?
No, it was a live action show. It was really short lived, and it's almost impossible to watch. I've been like, I wonder if I could find that scene with like the witch where she ties up the knight, and I could really figure out my weird sexual thing as a kid. And then like I turned it on YouTube for like seriously like 6 seconds, and it's just not watchable. It's just like one of those old things. Just like hitting my eyes start burning. I'm like, turn off this mundane garbage.
But others have tried to combine black magic and royal blood. They've all suffered.
I feel like that's a common theme though for like kid like of being tied up. Like I always are being punished. Like I always want to be punished by like Small Wonder.
I like you very much, honey bun.
And also the girl from Ewok Adventures.
Oh yeah.
But I figured she was more on my level, so we'd probably both be confused.
Yeah, I always had attraction to like ambiguous kind of like she was like never sure if that was a girl or a boy. Just like how one of my first big crushes was on the Maharaja from Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. Every woman I've ever dated is listening and they're just like, oh yeah, I knew he was gay. Finally. Now I find out on the fucking Dead End Drive-In episode. I guess the one last thing to say would be, which cat?
I did really like the accents though. I wish I was Australian.
Oh yeah. Seems like Australian people are always moving away from Australia. I want to move to Australia.
Yeah, why is that? Why are they
I don't know.
Leaving?
I don't know.
Anything you would like to say about Stunt Men? Do you recommend that?
I highly recommend on these Arrow Blu-rays, features. Usually the standout feature is one of those documentaries that we've come to love by, Elijah Drenner and all those names that I somehow know now.
Wait, Ian Ken or Ian Kent? Or Ewan Kent?
Ewan Kent. But they don't have one of those on this, which is kind of disappointing because I think they could have had a great one. But those 2 movies, Hospitals Don't Burn Down especially, and The Stunt Men, are both really just interesting. Like, I watched them at like 11 a.m. If I watched those at 2 a.m. and had smoked weed, I probably would have thought that like it was mind bending.
Sorry about it. Just relax.
I am relaxed.
No, you're not. Come on, not properly.
I'm trying.
Did really enjoy the audio commentary.
Me too. I really liked him. I've never. I feel like I've been aware of his name for a couple of years. I remember at the now defunct Cinefamily movie theater, I went to a showing and it was after Turkey Shoot was playing, and people were just going nuts inside. And I was like, whatever this is, it must be absolutely outrageous. And then I just feel like over the last few years, I've come into contact with Brian Trenchard's Smith's work more, but I didn't really have a sense of him. Like if I had to guess, I would have thought that he would have been some kind of like guy who I didn't like his vibe. But I liked his vibe so much on the commentary that now I want to check out more of his work. And I also liked how at the end of the commentary, I liked how he starts recommending his other films.
Did you ever actually see Night of the Demons 2?
Night of the Demons 2 or Night of the Demons also?
No, he did Night of the Demons, the sequel.
And I still haven't seen Night of the Demons 1, believe it or not.
I wish they did Arrow releases because I really enjoy both of those movies.
Well, I feel like we can eventually kind of expand out to Scream Factory and stuff like that.
You know what I would like to do? Like old school wrestling with outfits. You and I versus Brian Trenchard-Smith and Frank Henenlotter.
That's quite a matchup.
I could picture Frank Henenlotter like coming out with like a boa, like kind of like Adrian Adonis.
Oh, I was gonna say Frank Henenlotter seems like he looks like George the Animal Steel in a way.
He's biting the turnbuckle.
He's kind of like a more senile George the Animal Steel. He's just like, what am I doing? I'm being a turnbuckle. Why am I doing this?
What's the animal doing? Wait a minute. We've seen this before. No rhyme, no reason for what he's doing. He has control of the match, but yet he's into the buckle. Look at that.
I feel like you would be like a character, like a Jake the Snake, but you'd have like a tarantula or something.
Oh, yeah. I definitely could get into that. And I've always, as we know, liked the freakiest characters. So like if I could have been like Sasquatch or Yeti or something, I would be into that.
I felt that way with comics too. Even like some of the lamer characters, like a Madcap. I was just like, this guy's so weird. I love him.
I was always like, let me try to get like a really fringe thing to be into. I was always into the bad fringe things. Like I was a big Excalibur fan. I was like, X-Men's cool, but Excalibur's my thing.
You know what on the surface I thought was cool, but I could never get into? Remember Lobo?
Oh, I never thought that was cool.
Oh, really?
But I could see. I mean, I always wanted that first issue because I was always like, oh, that'll be in my portfolio. Yeah. But I always hated DC. Could not get into it. Couldn't even read it.
I did read. I think the only DC everything I read was Killing Joke and Death in the Family.
Yeah, I read Killing Joke. Did not get a word. Even though in later years I've come to appreciate Alan Moore's work, I guess. But when I read that when I was like 13, I was just like, what happened? I don't understand. Except I feel very dirty, and I don't know. The other night, I have like a pile of like 30 comics in my closet, and I pulled them out the other night, and they're all kind of comics from like 1989 through like 91, and tried reading the first issue of The Punisher. It was like I'd have an easier time reading Latin. I was just like, it was so boring that I just could not even. It's like I hunt the street. I'm like trailing off. I'm like, what? I can't even look at this.
I feel like that same about Wolverine. Like I would have defended back then. I would have defended Wolverine to my death. But nowadays, like that was awful. Yeah. The writing in Wolverine was bad.
Yeah. The writing. I mean, the writing in all those comics it's so incredibly bad because they really even like you pick up like a random X-Men. None of this is going in, but you pick up a random X-Men. You pick up a random X-Men. You pick up an X-Men.
Oh my god.
You pick up a random X-Men.
Which
car?
Which car?
You pick up a random X-Men. I don't care which one it is. Like episode 2, issue 217. They still put in so much stuff as if you've never read it before. Like I couldn't believe it reading it as an adult, where it was like Wolverine has this healing power. I'm like, dude, we know he's got his fucking healing powers. Issue 217.
Excuse me, I'm Eric Lensher.
Charles Xavier.
Go fuck yourself.
For the longest time, due to the cover art, I always thought this was about zombies or something, not about like a totalitarian society kind of youth camp.
I actually thought it was about more. Well, I guess they do kind of compare it to vampires, right?
Who does?
Well, the director said like the characters like they come out at night, like they sleep during the day.
Try having a teenage son. That's a vampire. He tells me, I'm tired. I'm like, you don't do anything.
I'm tired. I'm wasted.
It's weird that Baz Luhrmann directed this.
Remember Baz Luhrmann, besides Moulin Rouge, that huge song he had in like the late 90s, early 2000s?
What? Oh,
it's okay. I think it's okay to wear sunscreen.
Yeah, and it was like that fake like Kurt Vonnegut. Wasn't that originally attributed to Kurt Vonnegut? It was like a viral thing that was like a commencement speech, and he recorded it as like a song. Yeah.
Really?
But it was like so weird because it was like so after its time. It's like it didn't really seem cool for Baz Luhrmann to do that.
I'll play a clip of it and let other people decide.
Well, there you have it.
Whatever you do, don't congratulate yourself too much, or berate yourself either. Your choices are half chance. So are everybody else's. Enjoy your body. Use it every way you can. Don't be afraid of it or what other people think of it. It's the greatest instrument you'll ever own. Dance. Even if you have nowhere to do it but in your own living room. Read the directions, even if you don't follow them. Do not read beauty magazines. They will only make you feel ugly.
I think we're good. I don't know what else to say about Dead and Driving.
I don't know what else to say. All I know is that my mouse is dead. And now, having announced it on the show, I will be disposing of his body on this very night.
I was going to call Jimmy's brother Frank a drongo, but I think you're the drongo.
I might be the drongo. Oh, you know what slang I do know?
Which car?
In that oh shit. What is that documentary I recommended to you? About the skaters in Australia.
Oh.
Chaos?
Yeah, the two brothers, right? Oh, that's a good documentary then.
Oh, Bogan. You know that slang, Bogan? Bogan.
What's that?
It means like I can't think of another phrase to say except for like white trash, but kind of like a rough kind of poorer Australian person who is a bogan.
A bogan.
So I jumped in my car and I started chasing him up the road, and then he went down a side street, and then the police were coming and I flashed them and sent them off in the direction of him. But mate, all I had was me jocks on. I was chasing him up the street and I'm just like, mate.
Rusty, I'd like to just leave you with one thought. Which car? So inaccurate. I'd have been like cheesecake.
Maybe
I'll eat it.
You're drinking your.
I'll eat it.
Are you dying over there? You're still breathing.
You should see the position I'm contorted in. I look like Regan from The Exorcist.
I was thinking like you're like Stephen Hawking.
I'm like
just like
in bed crabbing. Still haven't worked out a new. I got to figure out my new podcasting recording place. Anyway.
Very unprofessional.
Yeah. I look like Paula Abdul in the Cold Hearted Snake video right now.
Wait, wasn't everybody dancing on scaffolding?
I don't even fucking know, dude. I don't even fucking know. Fuck you.